Hello and welcome. I'm Darren, and today I'm going to talk about Black Myth Wukong. So, I'm not a game reviewer. I'm an average gamer. I am your typical kind of average gamer that is getting on. So I'm 44 years old. And I've been gaming since I, I wouldn't even know, 13 maybe. I remember stuff like the Commodore 64. So obviously when the PlayStations launched, Super Nintendos, the first Xbox, I've been there. I've played pretty much all the games back then. I don't, obviously, because of my age, I don't play as much now. So I'm not a typical what you would call game reviewer. It's not what I do. I don't play a huge amount of games. So it's very hard to, make a comparison of what is, say, for instance, I can't say this game is game of the year because I'd have to have pretty much played most of the games this year to come to that conclusion. And that's not something that I've done. Now, there's a reason why I haven't done that, and the reason is because a lot of the games that have launched this year just don't appeal to me. So, I'll be honest, I have that problem with a lot of games nowadays. And like Black Myth Wukong was a game that I was very much looking forward to when I saw kind of you know the the videos that were shown on it, the content that was shown on it, the previews that were shown on it. Then it looked like a game that would interest me, and I have enjoyed probably within my top 5 games of all time would easily be Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3. Now, I never played Dark Souls 1. So I do have, I do like that type of game. Now, I know people will argue that it's not a Souls-like game. I can kind of agree with that, but it does have certain Souls-like elements to it. So I kind of looked at the art style. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of talk about kind of the storyline that would go with it or anything like that. But from what I'd seen in the previews leading up to launch, I kind of thought it was definitely a game that I'd be interested in. Now, there's a lot of games that launch that I'm not interested in. And I'll be honest with you, I tend to get bored of games quite quickly. Now, I don't know if that's just the age that I'm at, but probably for quite a long time, single player games, even though I see a lot of single player games that I like the concept of, and I've always been kind of a fan of like your big open world single player games, but they don't. I don't have staying power in those games. I tend to get bored quite quickly, and I'll find myself in those type of games thinking, sometimes it'll be on my mind. I'll finish work today. I haven't played this game in a while. I'll give it a go, and I find myself loading it up, loading into the game. Half an hour, I'm bored, and I'll just load into something else. So single player games for me, probably in the last, I'd probably say the last 10 years have been hard. So I've kind of gravitated towards multiplayer online games because I don't find that I get that boredom. You're playing against online people. There's nothing that is repetitive in a way of, okay, you might be playing Call of Duty, the map's repetitive. It is a repetitive, maybe type of gameplay, but obviously random things exist. So I kind of gravitated away from single player games for quite some time. Now I kind of did get, I don't know if it's an age thing, I do notice that when it comes to sim racing, it generally from the content that I watch on sim racing, it tends to be an older audience. I'm not saying that's a complete thing, but I tend to notice that kind of middle-aged to older men seem to kind of gravitate towards sim racing. And I don't know if that just happened to me, but sim racing is something that kind of took over for probably the last couple of years for me. So I've tried a lot. Now, since I obviously started doing this channel a bit, I've wanted to benchmark quite a lot of games. So I have purchased a lot of games in the lines of your Alan Wake 2s, Hellblade 2, obviously quite a lot of UE5 titles, and I'm going to be completely honest with you, I've not played them. I have literally gone into those games, got to a certain area which is like your general benchmark area, so I've kind of done the prologue, got into a bit of gameplay, and I think Baldur's Gate is it Baldur's Gate 3? Baldur's Gate. Now, I did play that for quite a while, but again, I got to a point where my interest started to kind of diminish, and I do not feel at any point that I want to carry on, which is quite bad. Now, I should probably force myself to, maybe, and I'm sure that it's awkward. I know that sometimes with games you have to persevere, and I know that there's obviously points in a game that will suddenly pique your interest again. That can happen. I'm not saying they're bad games. The fault, I take responsibility for me not probably persevering enough with games, but at the same time, I kind of feel like a game has a bit of a responsibility to keep me interested, if that makes sense. And it's just something that I'm really struggling with. So, Black Myth Wukong, I'm going to be honest, that is the only game that I've played probably since Dark Souls 2 that has had me gripped that much that I didn't want to stop playing it. It's the first game in that long that has had me up way later than what I'm supposed to be, knowing that I need to get out of bed at 6 a.m. the next morning for work. It's had me getting out of bed on the weekend, knowing that I can get some decent game time in before the kids wake up. So rather than laying in bed and having a bit of a lay-in on the weekend, I've been getting out of bed early just to get some hours in on that game before I've got children running around screaming at me and all the rest of it. So this game, for me, is incredible. And I was kind of thinking about it today. I was thinking to myself, how could they improve that game? I don't know how they could improve the game. Like, I want some DLC for the game. I don't want it straight away because that might spoil it a bit. But honestly, this could be the first game that I will ever play a New Game Plus. And I could probably see myself playing a New Game Plus, plus 2, plus 3. I don't know. I mean, I'm seeing people that are like New Game Plus times 9. It's like incredible. And at the same time, I'm kind of watching quite a lot of content on it because if you play the game, there's a lot that you can miss. And normally that type of thing would irritate me, but with this game, it doesn't. It doesn't irritate me. I quite like watching content on it. I quite like the hidden kind of extra boss fights, the hidden storylines that you can easily miss if you're just running maybe across the main path too quickly without maybe doing a bit of exploration. And I could have easily done that. I don't mind that. Now, there is probably a couple of things that is a bit unfortunate that you could maybe lock yourself out of if you're not prepared or if you do something in the wrong order. Now, again, those are things that if you go into New Game Plus that you can obviously fix. So effectively, you shouldn't really ever miss anything. Now I finished the game last weekend, or I finished the normal ending. So there's obviously a second ending. So normal ending is you can finish with the like the monkey king or whatever the monkey boss is at the end. So obviously you finish with, or stone monkey. So you finish with that one, and then at that point you get a kind of ending to the game, and then you can start your new game plus. Now there is obviously a second ending, which is like the proper ending apparently. So I have to beat Erlen, and I believe you then take on, I think you then take on the form of the stone monkey, and then you fight like the big giants. So I haven't done that. I can't beat Erling. I've tried. I've been trying kind of. I don't know how many attempts I've had. It's definitely somewhere between 10 and 20, and I am struggling big time. I got to the point of, annoyingly, I think he was probably about 2 hits. And then from that point on, I'm struggling to get him down to anywhere near like a quarter. So it's tough. And that is one thing I will say about this game. For me, for an average gamer, it's hard. Now, at points, I thought to myself, they should have maybe put in a difficulty setting. But at the same time, like I said, I'm an average gamer. Effectively, I've beaten the game apart from one of the final endings. So would I have enjoyed it? Because I'm sure there were points where I was struggling with a certain boss, and I would have turned down the difficulty, and then I would have got through. And I would never have got the enjoyment I had from thinking, I cannot beat this boss. I'm fucking losing my mind, to the feeling you get when you hit him on the last fucking hit. When if he hits you first, you've lost again. And that feeling of beating that boss on the last hit, the last action that you had left until your death was ominous, that is what makes that game fucking phenomenal. Like, I have been to the point of nearly losing my voice, absolutely raging at it, to the point of almost losing my voice in like absolute celebration of finally destroying or beating a boss that was destroying me. And if the game had a difficulty setting, and I would have just struggled with the boss, had a couple of fights, thought this isn't going to happen, I'll put it on easier, some form of easier, the game wouldn't be as good. You had to go through the pain and to go through the elation of finally beating that boss. Now, some people will just breeze through it. And will they enjoy it? They probably will. Because the one thing that I will say is I've watched quite a lot of content on it. And generally when I watch content, I flick through comments and read a lot of comments. And the only negative comments I've seen for this game are by people that haven't played the game. I don't think I've seen anything that stands out to me that is negative towards this game by anyone that's actually played the game. I don't think I've seen someone say that they've played the game and they thought it was shit. So, now I'm not saying that it's not going to be 100%, because I haven't read 100% of the comments that are put out there. But I think that, like, to me now, from my perspective, for the games that I've tried this year and the games that have launched, easily it should be Game of the Year. That's me. I'm not expecting other people to agree with that, because gaming's subjective. So why would someone, I really don't expect everyone to feel the same. But for a game that changed my mindset of, I was to the point of thinking there is no point me really buying single player games anymore. Because games aren't cheap anymore. Do you know what I mean? So you're spending like, minimum 50, but like somewhere, a lot of the times anywhere between 50 to £90 £5 for a game that I was to the point of, there's just no point, because I'll play it for a couple of hours and then I'll get bored and then I'll revert back to the games that I was playing anyway. This game has changed my mind. This game has given me the confidence to know that there are still absolutely banging games that can come out. And it's probably because even though it will copy games in certain aspects, it's just original. It's organic. The game just plays so well. The storyline isn't too much. The cutscenes aren't over the top. The cutscenes are perfect. I love the little stories that they do in between. So obviously, it's in chapters. So obviously, you finish the end of, once I got to the end of chapter 1, and then it started like the animation and the little bit of the storyline. It's like, oh, this is actually quite cool. I appreciated that. I thought that was really good. You go into chapter 2, like the guy with the guitar with the no head starts off, the music starts off, and it's like that. I love that. That music is like banging. So that just put a smile onto my face, and I'm sure people that have played it think the same thing. When that like music cuts in with the fucking guy with no head on his guitar, love it. And yeah, cutscenes in it. Obviously, you get a little bit of cutscene when you get to like the main bosses, so you kind of get a little bit of a story that goes with that. You get your kind of side tasks, like the drunk pig or whatever it was, the boar in chapter 2 and stuff like that. Like I said, the bosses that you go back to, the character progression, when you unlock like the blacksmith area so that you can do your armor unlocks and stuff like that. Like I said, when you actually, I wanted to search through the content online. I didn't want to miss anything. I wanted to make sure that I picked up all the armors that were available, the staffs that were available, all the items that were available. I wanted to make sure that I could go back and obviously fight any bosses. Now, I ended up watching someone live streaming it last night, and within, I don't know, half an hour of watching their stream, there's a boss that I hadn't fought, and I'm like, holy shit, what, how? So I ended up, obviously, unfortunately, I didn't lead up to it. I was paying attention between that and something else, looked up, and he's fighting a boss that was like a tiger that I did not fight. So I think it was called like Mad Tiger or something like that. There's a couple of little things that you have to do. So I quick looked that up, loaded the game up. It's like, right, I need to find this. I need to sort this out. I need to go and find this boss. So I went and found it. Did obviously the couple of little tasks that you had to do to unlock this boss fight. Fought the boss. Now, unfortunately, he's in chapter 2, and I'm obviously end game. So it was the easiest boss fight I've ever fought. And now, obviously, if I'd have met him in chapter 2, I don't think he's as hard as the Tiger Vanguard, the one in obviously the pool. I still don't think he's probably as hard as him. But it was still a decent little boss fight. So the game to me has got everything. The art style is awesome. I actually love the fact that they do kind of the different art styles for the little storylines they do between the chapters. I think that's brilliant. I can't fault it. I think it is a absolutely banging game. If I had to rate it, I don't know. Could I? I'd feel bad. Like, I'd feel dumb if I said I'd give it a 10 out of 10. But I'd probably give it a 10 out of 10 because I don't think I've played a game better. I think it's better. Like, I thought Dark Souls 2 I thought was awesome. I think it's better. To me, I think it was better than that. I don't think I've played a better. For me, I don't think I've played a better game. Now, people will argue that. That's fine. I'm not telling other people what to think. I never think that way. It's subjective. That's fine. But for me, an absolutely incredible game. Loved it. And I pretty much decided tonight, if I can't beat Erlang, then, or Erland, whatever his name is, I'll probably just go into New Game Plus. And then once I've gone through the game, probably upgraded all the armors, upgraded everything I can. I know obviously he'll be harder as well at the end of, obviously if I get to the end of New Game Plus. I know obviously he'll be harder, I'll be stronger. Probably give it another go then. That might not be a bad thing. So it's almost like I'll end the first playthrough with one ending, and then I'll end the second playthrough with the second ending. That wouldn't probably be a bad thing. But yeah, there's not a lot more I can say. I'm still actually enjoying watching other people play it. So I think the developers deserve some serious credit for that. They stuck out of the bullshit politics that people are getting probably tired and sick of. Now, for that reason, this game, I don't know. I don't even know if it'll get nominated in the Game of the Year's game for that reason. I hope it does. I hope people see past that bullshit. I mean, obviously, the Steam survey tells you that the people that actually want to play the game saw past the bullshit. So, but at the same time, does it really matter? I think probably the developers can see that regardless of, it's nice for them to get the accreditation from the people at the top, but at the same time, I think they can see by the reaction from the public themselves that they've created a really good game. Everything on it, like I said, to me is perfect. The cutscenes aren't over the top. They don't, obviously, I didn't find myself really kind of skipping any. Nothing kind of was overboard that I felt like I had to start skipping it. I wanted to listen to the storylines. And to be fair, it's kind of made me finishing wanting to actually now read the book and actually read the actual real story itself. So I probably will do that. And I will probably play it through New Game Plus, and I will hope and pray for DLC. It would be, I'd love it to not end there. It's too good a game. So I'm sure that the developers can add some DLC in. They did amazing with the bosses, because each boss fight felt authentic. All of them were different. They took, obviously, a couple that I struggled with. I ended up obviously respecking my character. Now, sometimes I had to find a way to cheese it, but it is what it is. Obviously, there's guides on bosses that you're struggling with that will obviously give you, maybe a respec option for your character, tell you maybe what spells will work best, what armor set to use, what buffs to use, and that's fine. I struggled with some of the bosses. There was some really hard boss fights for me that probably took me. I think there was definitely a couple that I was definitely up to maybe 20 attempts, and I was thinking, I just can't do this. I think the end of chapter 3, maybe. Was it chapter 3? The one where you're in the caves with all the spiders and stuff like that. So, I think that was the one that I really struggled with. And then once you get the kind of the item that helps you with the final boss, I think it was the scorpion. That scorpion boss, fuck me, God, that guy drove me absolutely crazy. But the insane thing was, I couldn't get anywhere near it, and then you just do it with ease, which is like really annoying. It's like you struggle like hell, and then you beat them, and you've got like 5 heals left, and you think, what the fuck was I doing? But that's good. That's not a bad thing, because to me, I know it's just my skills, my timings, my dodge timings. Another thing, like obviously pulling off a perfect dodge is such a good feeling in that game. It is hard. Obviously, some people will just like perfect dodge, perfect dodge, perfect dodge. I'm not. Obviously, I'm getting old. My reactions aren't as good as what they need to be. But when you do pull off the perfect dodges and then you hit like a perfect counter, oh, it's such a good feeling. So I'm gonna leave it there. Black Myth Wukong, banger, 10 out of 10, game of the year. That's it. That's my thoughts, and I'm sticking with it. And I'm going to end it there. So let me know in the comments what you think. Now, I'm probably going to get some kickback, and that's fine. I might even get some people that agree. Let me know what you think, and I will catch you all in the next one.